Physics 1910, Physics 01 I like to call it. First semester of algebra-based physics, first chapter. I'm calling this chapter 0 because it's stuff that's like, it's not really physics. And you may have already seen this before. Hopefully you've seen some of this before. But I want to go over some of the fundamental things that you need to get started into physics, algebra-based physics. And we're going to talk about units, scientific notation, and then some basic math stuff. So let's just jump right into units. If you make a measurement, and physics is all about building models of the universe and comparing them with experimental data, so you're going to have measurements. When we have a measurement, let's say I measure the height of a person and I say h is 1.75. Without units, that's just a number and it doesn't mean anything, right? So everything that we have is going to be either something that has units, it's going to be a count. They don't have units, right? How many people are in the room? 18, that's it. Or it will be a ratio. So ratios don't have units. So if I do what's the ratio of my height to your height, or what's the coefficient of friction, that's a ratio. It doesn't have a unit. But here, 1.75, I do need to have units. So let's just go ahead and write on the side here, meters. So h is this with the units. You have to have the units. Units is part of that number. You can think of it like that. And we're going to just write just m for that. Now, when you multiply numbers, let's say I have a distance, delta x is 22 meters, and delta t is 2 seconds, and I want to calculate the average velocity in the x direction. That would be delta x over delta t, and we'll get into that later. So when I put in my values here, they have units too. So I have 22 meters divided by 2 seconds. So I have to include those units. Now maybe they divide, maybe they don't. If they're both meters, I could cancel them. But here I have 22 over 2 is going to be 11, right? Yeah, 11 meters per second. So that also has units. Make sure you carry through the units. Okay. I'm going through this fast because we'll practice it a lot more as we do problems in physics. What about unit conversions? Suppose I do something like I have a height. Let's say h is 3.2 feet, and I want to convert that to meters. Okay, so actually I don't want to do that one because that's too close to 1 meter. Let's do 7.8 feet. And I want to convert that to meters. Well, the first thing that we need to do is to know a relationship between the feet units and the meters units. And it doesn't matter which way. And I don't remember exactly what it is, so I'm going to just Google it. 1 foot in meter. You don't need to memorize these. I get 1 foot is 0.3048 meters. So let's just write that up here. 1 foot equals 0.3048 meters. Now, because this is equal to that, the numbers are not equal, but the numbers with the units are equal. Okay? So this quantity is that quantity. They are the same, even though the numerical values aren't the same. So imagine I had this up here and I multiply it by 3 over 3. Well, 3 over 3 is 1, right? So you can multiply something by 1 and you don't change it. Really what I'm technically doing, multiplying this side of the equation by 1, I have to multiply h by 1, but 1h is still h. Well, what if I have this, h 7.8 feet, and I multiply by the fraction of 0.3048 meters divided by 1 foot? Well, this is a fraction that's equal to 1. It's still 1. It doesn't look like it, but it is, right? Because this is equal to that. So a something over something is 1. But now I can treat these units as variables, so the feet here on the top and the feet here on the bottom cancel. So now I'm left with a quantity in meters. So I get 7.8 times 0.3048 meters. And we're going to have to put in our calculator. I'm going to go ahead and do that. A note about calculators. So I have this old Hewlett-Packard. It's even got a little dot on there. I just like it. It's just what I've used for a long time. It's not even mine, it's my wife's. You don't have to have a super fancy calculator. Here are the things that you need to have on your calculator. Trig functions, of course, normal operations, square root, multiplication, division, raised to the power, and then the trig functions and scientific notation. If it has all those things, go for it. There's a lot of really well priced. Casio, I know, has some, on the order of $10. So you don't have to buy a $150 calculator. Okay, I'm going to put this in my calculator. I have to take my glasses because I can't see. So I'm going to say 7.8.3048 times, and I get 2.3. I'm gonna round to 3 decimal points, 3 decimal places, 8 meters. So I'm gonna go ahead and say something about significant figures. Significant figures are just kind of an important thing when you're doing measurement activities, which we're not going to do. Okay, and it's a way to account for the uncertainty in a measurement. There's better ways to account for uncertainty. In physics, we like to use an uncertainty value of plus or minus, 2.38 plus or minus 0.01 meter or something like that. That's what we would do. But the significant figures is a way to keep track of that too, but it's not part of this class. Now, for the online homework, 3 significant figures, and I'll try to be as lenient as possible on that, giving multiple values. But it's not a big deal. But just so you know, on the test, it doesn't matter as long as you have enough figures, because I'm going to be grading those by hand. Okay, that's the answer. Now, let's do another one that I see a lot of people make a mistake on, and then we'll just leave the rest for practice. So suppose I have a solar panel, and it's a tiny one, and it has an area of 55 square centimeters. So that's the area. But I want to calculate the area in square meters. So how do I convert from centimeters to meters? So of course we have these prefixes on our things, like centa means 1 over 100, kilo means 1,000, and all these things. So if you don't remember those, they're in, I'll put a table somewhere, okay? But you can find it. So let's say, again, I know that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, okay? But if I take A, 55 centimeters squared, and I multiply by 1 meter over 100 centimeters, that's not going to work, because I do have a centimeter squared divided by centimeters. So one of those cancel, and I can do this in my head, right? 0.55 centimeter meters. That's the unit I have. But that's not meters squared. So what I need to do is do it again. Well, I can do it again, or I could square this. If I square this, I get meter squared over centimeter squared, but then I have 100 squared, right? So 100 squared is going to be 10 to the 4th, so I'm going to have to move this over 2 more decimal places, or I could write this as 5.5 times 10 to the negative 3rd meters squared. So when you're dealing with multi or units raised to the power, just be careful about that. Okay, scientific notation. The radius of the Earth, I just happen to know this, 6.37 times 10 to the 6th meters. Now, you could write this as 6, 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, meters. Okay, that's not too bad, right? But what if you want to write the mass of the Earth? 5.97 times 10 to the, is it the 24th? Yeah, 24th kilograms. I don't want to write that out, okay? So scientific notation is just a way to write out the number of zeros. It actually comes up quite a bit. I'm not going to go give a full scientific notation lesson. I'm going to tell you one thing, and you need to practice this with your calculator. Suppose I want to calculate the gravitational field on the surface of the Earth. It's equal to g, the gravitational constant, the mass of the Earth over the radius of the Earth squared. And so g, again, 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11th Newton meters squared per kilogram squared. So here I have 3 numbers of scientific notation, and I'm going to square things. The problem comes in how you enter this radius here. In your calculator, if you wrote this 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 times 5.97 times 10 to the 24th divided by 6.3 times 10 to the 6th squared, what this is going to do, it's going to take this, multiply by that, multiply by that, multiply that. That's all fine. And then you're going to divide by 6.3. And then the calculator is going to say, okay, now I'm going to take this thing and multiply by 10 to the 6th. And then I'm going to take that, I'm going to raise it to the whole thing raised to the second power. That's not the right answer. So what you need to do is either use a bunch of parentheses, which I would not recommend, or make sure you know how to use the scientific notation button on your calculator. So on my calculator, I'm going to enter it in and then I'll show you. So I'm going to say let's drop that. 6.3 times 10 to the 6th. Okay. So let's see if you can see this. So you see how it has that E for the scientific notation? It treats that whole thing as just one number. And so it's going to obey the order of operations correctly. It's going to treat that as one number, it's not two. So that's the one thing I want to say about that. Again, you're just going to have to practice with your calculator to make sure you get it right. Now, in terms of math, I just want to go over a couple of things. One is, how do you solve multiple equations with multiple unknowns? So let's just make up something like this. 3x squared minus 2y equals 5. X plus y equals negative 7. I don't even know if this has a solution. But how do you solve it when you have two variables with two equations? This does come up quite a bit. Now, in your previous course, you may have seen this. Well, you got to add them or subtract the equations, stuff like that. Don't bother with that. That doesn't always work. But what does always work is solve one of these for a variable. So let's say I solve this for x. So I can say, and what that means is get x by itself. So I'm going to subtract y from both sides, negative 7 minus y. And then I'm going to take this and plug it into that equation up here. So I get 3, and now I have x squared, but I'm going to put this in for x, so negative 7 minus y. Quantity squared minus 2y equals 5. And now I have an equation with just y that I can solve. Okay, so we're going to practice that again, but that's something that you should know how to do coming into the course. Finally, we have our trig functions. So trig is all about this. Right triangles. It's all about right triangles. So if I have a right triangle with some angle theta, and this is the side A, this is side B, this is side C, the first thing is, if it's a right triangle, and don't bother with these non-right triangle rules, don't try to use the law of sines and cosines, because you're going to get yourself into trouble. Stick with right triangles. So the first thing is we have the Pythagorean theorem. It says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then we have these trig functions. It turns out that all of the triangles that have the same angle theta have similar sides. And so we know the ratio of the sides, and that's what these trig functions are. They're ratios. Okay. So we know that if I take the cosine of that angle theta, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that's going to be a over c. Sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, so it's going to be b over c. And then tangent of theta is going to be opposite over adjacent, and that's b over a. And then we have inverse operations, so I can say theta is the cosine inverse, or arc cosine, of a over c. It's also equal to the inverse sine of b over c. Okay. Be careful if you are in radians or degrees. So remember that 360, I like to say it this way, 180 degrees is equal to pi radians. And that matters because sometimes we like to think of this in terms of degrees, but a lot of times we calculate things in radians. So your calculator can switch modes between radians and degrees. Just make sure you know what mode your calculator's in. I was going to say something else. Oh, another important thing. Since this is a ratio, right, this cosine of a number can be between negative 1 to 1. Sine can be between negative 1 and 1. So if you take the cosine of a number of an angle and you get 2, that's not right. You didn't do that. But that also means that you can't take the inverse of something like 2. Okay? You can't, because it's a ratio of length of the sides. This, the ratio of these sides can't be, the best they could be, B to C would be 1, right? That would be a straight up there. And then same thing for a cosine. You don't have to remember cosine of 0 is 1, sine of 0 is 0. It'd be nice, but you don't have to memorize that. If you forget, just put it in your calculator. It's not a big deal. Okay, next up is actual physics, chapter 1, forces. I'll talk to you later.